Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Pastoral World Talk Radio Network, which is a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I have a special guest with me today. I'm really excited. My guest is Jacqueline Diaz, and she is a visionary leader and fierce advocate for workplace inclusion with a passion for empowering neurodivergent professionals. She is co-owner of Strategic Talent Acquisition, a recruiting firm, and the founder of the Stephen Spectrum Career Project, which is a nonprofit dedicated to integrating neurodivergent individuals into the workforce. Jacqueline is breaking barriers and reshaping the future of work. And let me tell you, folks, if you have a child, an adult child, that's neurodivergent, you want to contact Jacqueline Diaz, especially if you are in the New York area. And Jacqueline also is a best-selling author. She was co-author with a book, Love, 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing, volume, can't read my own handwriting, volume 2, and The Ultimate Guide to Leaving Your Legacy. She's also the author of Jacob's Melody, Harmony and Autism, which is a heartwarming children's story about an autistic boy who discovers his voice through music. And, folks, you know, if you listen to my show, I've had a music therapist. Music is great, not just for people with Alzheimer's or any dementia. Music is great for those who have disabilities. How do I know? Because I've used music myself to teach my son Joshua his address when he was younger, his birthday, and how to spell his name. And music helped my husband calm down when he was having his sundowning. My husband had early onset Alzheimer's. So I want to welcome the wonderful Jacqueline Diaz to Chatting with Betsy.
Hi, everybody. Betsy, so great to listen to you and your chipper voice, and so great and so grateful for you having me on the show.
Oh, you are welcome. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Is it Diaz?
Yes, Diaz.
Diaz, okay. Diaz. I know you're in New York. I'm in New Jersey. And when you contacted me, Jacqueline contacted me on LinkedIn, and I, read about you, and you sent me your information. And, folks, there's a lot of information about Jacqueline. So we're going to have a website and a blog. So I would contact Jacqueline, go on her website and see all the wonderful work she does. I knew I had to have you on because people are struggling. People are looking for resources, and you're a wonderful resource. So I'd like to know, I'll start off with, what is your your co-owner, Strategic Talent Acquisition? What do they do? And we'll talk about your Stephen Spectrum Career Project and your book.
Yeah, so I'll kind of like, no worries. I'll start off by letting you guys know who Strategic Talent Acquisition or recruiting firm is, and then I'll transition into, who the Stephen Spectrum Career Project is. So I'm the co-owner of Strategic Talent Acquisition, a recruiting firm, and what we do is that we help organizations, small business owners, you name it, who are looking to hire top talent, and we vet out the candidates to make sure that not only are they the top candidate, but that they also fit into their company culture. Because of my recruiting agency, I have a nephew who he's in his 20s, who asked me to to find him a job. And I said, of course, easy peasy, we're recruiters and I can find anybody a job. So if I can't find you a job, I would, I wouldn't be such a great recruiter or such a great aunt. And lo and behold, I found out I wasn't such a great aunt and not such a great recruiter because it was very difficult. Not only trying to find him a job through, the recruiter resources, but also looking up the agencies here in New York City, because there are agencies that are really good that place individuals with autism into the workforce, but there's a long waiting list. I called several places, and just for an intake, it would be like 60, 90 days, and that's only for the intake, right? And
wow.
My nephew, unfortunately, he grew up in a time where autism wasn't really known. They didn't have much information about it, and there wasn't as many resources. And when he aged out of what we call here in New York City District 75, which is the special education unit, when he aged out, he really didn't have the skills to find a job. And for him to go to college, it was considered, quote unquote, alternative education, non-traditional education. So there wasn't any financial aid available for him to go to a specialized college. So we as a family didn't have the money to send him, to pay thousands of dollars a year to send him to school. So here he was with no skills, and it's not that he really wanted a job. He wanted to find purpose. And I got really frustrated. Yes, it's really important because he just didn't know what to do with himself, and he found himself with the sense of worthlessness, that he wasn't good as anybody else, and that broke my heart. And as a family, we just didn't know what to do. So when he came to me with this loving ask for me to find him a job, and I wasn't able to, I said to myself, why does it have to be so hard? And there's these good agencies out there, but it takes a really long time. So that's when I created the Stephen Spectrum Career Project. And as a neurodivergent myself, I was late diagnosed with ADHD and OCD. I felt for him. So we created the Stephen Spectrum Career Project. What we aim to do is provide workforce training, daily living workshops, and mentorship to the neurodivergent community here in New York City, and attempt to find them job placement. We don't guarantee job placement because that's up to our partners and the people that we reach out to see if they do have placements. But what we do in the event that they cannot be placed with a paying job, we find them volunteer opportunities. We apply for grants for other things that they can do in the arts to give them that sense of purpose, because not everybody that comes to us does want a job. They, like I said, they just want to find something to do during the day, try to build on their skills. We do resume workshops. We do interview, socialization skills, and dress for success.
Oh, that is wonderful, Jacqueline. That almost brings tears to my eyes, and it really touches my heartstrings, because my son is neurodivergent. I know how hard it is to find a job. As I was telling you before this interview, Joshua's first job out of school was with I won't mention the name, a woman's store, and he was in the stock room. he had a job coach. They wouldn't allow him, his job coach, to be there helping him, to help train him. They also did not work with his availability. Now, Josh gave the availability right from the get-go. They said, oh, yeah, we'll work with your availability. Then they turned on him and said, oh, no. And the manager was so nasty. I wanted to knock her out. I'm not pro-violence, folks. I would never do that. Yeah, I felt like it. Yeah. And what I did, I told Josh to quit. I called up the 800 ethics hotline to that employer, and I gave them an earful. And I told them, if you're going to hire people with disabilities, you need to work with their availability that they give you, that they stated before you even hire them, and you need to let them have their job coach on the job. That's what their job coach is there for, is to help them do their job, to make sure they could do it. And I don't know if it was a coincidence, Jacqueline, but after that, they got a whole new manager and staff.
Wow.
After that. Now, I don't know, folks, if that's coincidence or not, but, and I said, Josh, leave that place and go find another place. And thankfully, Josh works, I won't mention the name, he works for a great bus company. He's a school bus aide. They work with him. They treat their employees, both able-bodied and disabilities, all the same. They work with them. They appreciate them, and they show appreciation. He's been there, I think, 16 or 18 years. I forgot which one. I think 18.
That's amazing. I love hearing stories like that.
And they love him. And they worked with him. When his dad was dying, they worked with his schedule. I couldn't ask for a better place for my son to work. And it's important. And I like in the information that you sent me, and I forgot to read this. Let me see if I could find it here in my work. You believe that true success begins when people feel seen, valued, and supported. And that is true for everyone. Isn't it, Jacqueline? Yes. Everyone wants that.
Absolutely.
That is really incredible, because I know, like, Josh he went to special ed school, and a private special ed school, the last part of the school education, and he wasn't taught anything skill-wise to help him in the workplace, actually. He did work in a kitchen through the school program, but that was too far. Josh doesn't drive. And to rely on, like, the transportation around here is really not, reliable, put it that way. And that's hard for Josh to manage. So everyone wants to feel valued at the workplace, and everyone wants a purpose. And we should give them that. Now, I have to ask you this, because now I'm curious. This might sound like an off-the-wall question, but now with this new thing of limiting DEI, how is that affecting your ability to find people placements in jobs?
Well, here's the thing. I don't see that it's fully in effect all across, right? Because there are bigger organizations that are dropping it. But my take on it is that the DEI was supposed to enforce it, and then people started seeing it a different way. But what we need to see, whether we have DEI or not, is fairness in the workplace, right? So you get hired based on merit, and not on whether you have a disability, whether it's your race or not. And the thing with DEI, that's the purpose. That was the purpose of it anyway, right?
Right.
So when I present an individual, I don't present that individual as, well, hire them because they're autistic. It's hire them because they're autistic and they can do the job.
Right.
We don't want to place anybody where they can't do the job, because it's not sustainable, number one. Number two, an employer won't work with us again. And number three, it's going to let the individual feel as if they're inadequate and that they can't do anything. So the way that we approach it is, when we do our initial assessment, is what skills do you have? Also, like, what are your kind of hobbies, or what is it that you're interested in order for us to be able to do a proper placement. And if they don't have those skills, we try to prepare them to get those skills. And
yeah, that's I agree with that, because I feel, and I could say this, folks, because I have a son who has a cognitive disability, that I think people should get a job, have a job, be able to get it, even if they have a disability, they could do the job. They really need to be able to do the job. Now, maybe they might need some supervision, and that's where a job coach can come in. And they're not there, like all the time. I know Josh's job coach comes once in a while to where he works and checks up on all the people there. But, to give people an opportunity to work, folks, you don't have no idea what that means to a parent of a child, adult child who has a disability. For them to feel part of the community, to belong, is so important. It's important for that individual, for their self-esteem, isn't it, Jacqueline?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other portion of it, right, is educating the employer on what support systems that you can put in place. And that goes all across the board, because if someone goes to HR and says that, they're mentally, let's say that they're having trouble mentally because it's overwhelming, they put some kind of support system in place. They'll give them, the EAP program where they can call in and get help, right? Get counseling in order for them to do their job properly. So why is it that we can't get supports in place with someone who is autistic, or someone who does have dyslexia, or someone who is ADHD, right? So if somebody has to walk in with a list of things to do every single day, that shouldn't be a problem. If there's a sensitivity to light, as a lot of neurodivergents may have, they should be able to either put in lights that aren't LED, right, and that that aren't as bright, or place them in an area with natural light. And if they can't do that, let them come in with shades. The same thing is that if they have that sensitivity to noise, can they wear headphones? So it's putting support systems in place that'll have the people do their job, because they can do the job. They just need a little support in certain areas.
Yes, exactly. In our local grocery store, there's a woman there who is, I don't know the proper name they use now, but height challenged. I think she's a dwarf. I don't know if they still use that word, but I don't know what the word to use. And she's up on a stool, to do the register. And I'm like, good for you, I'm thinking to myself. Yes. And good for the store that they can do that. And Actually, the grocery store, they hire a lot of people with disabilities also. And I remember, this is years ago because my son was a toddler, and I saw someone who has Down syndrome, and they were working, they were bagging, and I went to the manager and I said, "Thank you so much for hiring this individual. I think it's great." And he said, he looked at me like I was a little crazy. And he looked at me like I was a little nuts. He goes, "Oh, thank you." But you know what? It made me cheer up because I wanted my son to have an opportunity to have a job. And I'll tell you, folks, and if you're any employers out there listening to this show, I'm going to tell you right now, the best people, in my opinion, you can hire is neurodivergent, because if they're like my son and my older brother was neurodivergent, they don't like to miss work. That's their routine, and they love their routine.
Yeah.
And they are the most hardest workers, faithful, loyal, and they will show up at the job. They do not like missing work. They're actually very upset that they do.
Routine and their structure. Yep, absolutely.
Yes. COVID was very difficult for my son because he couldn't work, couldn't socialize, and his father had just died. So it was really
extra.
Yeah, it was really tough for him because, just when you need support, need to be with friends, you can't. And that's
tough. It was tough on everybody, but I can imagine for neurodivergence it was extra tough.
That was really tough. So I think that is just wonderful. And I love interviewing people like you, Jacqueline, who have such a passion to help others, because people listen to my show and people are searching. I just saw on a local chat, this woman has 2 children on the spectrum, and she's looking for resources to help her.
Yeah.
People are looking for help. I mean, they're school-age children, but they're looking for help. People are looking, how do I get a job if I have a disability, or if my child has a disability? Can there be supports at the workplace? Will they allow them? This is very important, extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. With the transportation, do you, is your organization nonprofit, do they help with transportation by any chance?
No, not yet. We're looking into it right now to see how we can provide transportation, get some grants, and call out. We always call out to the public to give us those donations in order for us to do it. It is difficult because some jobs are like across town, and we, to start off, we'll probably only start off with one van, but that is something that we want to put in place because we know how difficult it is. A lot of people don't drive. A lot of people can't take public transportation because, they feel uneasy in social settings. So that is something that we're really considering and looking into.
Yeah, that's really important because I know my son doesn't drive and he can't access like a bus. That's too hard for him. And the, I won't mention the name, but the transit company that does work in New Jersey, the heard stories, they're not 100% reliable. And you go to a job, you have to show up at a time. And they don't want to hear, your transportation, didn't show up on time. They're not going to accept that. So that's really important. I'm glad to hear that. Now, is the Steve and Spectrum Career Project, is that just for New York City residents?
At the time, yes. We are a newer organization. So we are just doing New York City and Long Island. right now, but our plans are to expand to, the other states nearby, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's excellent. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting. It is exciting just to think of it, and we hope to get there pretty soon.
Oh, that's great. I know people in New Jersey could definitely use that. That's for sure. My son is able to walk to work, thankfully. He's able to, to do that, but that's not always possible. And I would love to hear about your book, Jacqueline, Jacob's Melody, Harmony and Autism. What inspired you to write that book?
A few things, right? I had met someone who kind of taught me about, he gave me a bunch of resources, and we spoke a few times on music theory and music therapy. And, my nephew loved music, and that calmed him a lot. I love music, and even though, my neurodivergency is ADHD and OCD, music did something for me, which sparked creativity. Not only did it do that, at times it did help me focus, reel me back in, because the ADHD that I have is more hyper-focused. So people hear that and they say, like, oh, wow, I wish I was hyper-focused, but it's it's not what people think. It's more of, I hyper-focus on one task and everything else around me just shuts down. So music did help me with that. So I thought that it was important that children are exposed to a book saying, hey, this is something that you can that can help you. And parents are, primary caregivers. When they're reading the story to their child, there's also a resource section in the back kind of explaining what music therapy and music theory is and how it could help their child. I think that that's important because not all therapies will work for an autistic child. Some people, there's mixed reviews on ABA therapy, right? So when it comes to things like art therapy and music therapy, those are things not only that children will enjoy, but that will help them in the long run. And there's studies that have been done for that, that it can help them cognitively. So I thought that the story is important not only for autistic children, but also for children, for other children to read the story and promote inclusivity. That they're able to include children and not autistic children, and not see them as somebody who's completely different. It's just a little different wiring in the brain.
Yes. I tell you what, I'm hearing more public service announcements about autism. I'm hearing more now than I've ever heard before. And the first time I heard it, it was a child talking and saying that they have autism. And I'm like, wow. Like, that just was like, that's awesome. That's about time, right?
It definitely is.
It's about time.
Yes. It's not only educating caregivers and teachers and employers, but educating other children that, they're not as different as you think. They still go through things that you may go through. They still feel, they still want to play sometimes, but they can't. Sometimes they do want to socialize, but they really can't. Just because they don't get a joke, it doesn't mean that they're more different than you are. Everybody is just different in their own way, but they're still humans, and they should be treated as that.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, Jacqueline. If you were in front of me, I'd give you a big hug because I agree 100%. Everybody, folks, everyone, I don't care who you are, what you claim yourself to be, everyone wants to be treated with respect and dignity and live in peace. That's it, folks. We all want that. And it just bothers me and annoys me when I see people treat other people improperly without respect, because just because someone is in a wheelchair doesn't mean they can't think or talk. And people think that, and that's not right. We have to treat people with respect and dignity. I always did that. That's just, who I am. I worked, this is a funny story. I said this on my show, but I'll share it with you, Jacqueline. I was a nurse at a state institution for the severely disabled. And a lot of the clients didn't talk, but I talked to them. And they would say to me, Betsy, who are you talking to? I said, I'm talking to the clients. Don't you know they can't talk back? I said, I know they can't talk back, but they're human and they can hear. And they hear me. And I treat them like I would anyone else. I always went in there, talked to them, told them exactly what I was doing. And I know the staff thought I was cuckoo, and that's okay. Because I always say, how would I want to be treated? How would I want my family to be treated? And therefore, by the grace of God, go I. And that's another thing, Jacqueline, that people don't understand. All it takes, God forbid, is a second, and someone could be disabled. And how would they want to be treated? And that's the thing. People, look down on those who have a disability. I don't know why. That just will always bother me because it's the type of person I am. But we need to welcome people into our lives. We can learn something from everyone. And I just love the clients. They had their own personality, even though they couldn't talk. But I have had people on my show, Jackie, that were art therapists, music therapists, and I've even encouraged them to go into schools and preschool handicap programs to show their work. And maybe the
absolutely.
School,
that's awesome.
And maybe the schools will pick it up. Camps. My son's got a recreation camp. I think it's important. You're seeing it more, in nursing homes, assisted living facilities. They're having art therapy, music therapy. Back when my husband was diagnosed 15 years ago, there wasn't, you didn't really hear about music therapy. I did my own.
Exactly.
Didn't know what it was, but I did my own. And with Joshua learning, I knew he learned through music. He loved music. He didn't like certain noises would drive him to be upset when he was much younger, but he learned through music. And so I would tell him his address, phone number, how to spell his name through music, and he got it.
That's wonderful.
Thanks. This is meeting people where they're at, folks. It's just
exactly.
And this is what we have to do: meet people where they are, not what we want them to be, but who they are and what they can do. And there's people, and I know you know this, Jacqueline, that can contribute to society, that want to contribute to society, but society won't let them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Back in the old days, they put people away. Which is where I worked. because back when it was built in 1965, I worked there in the 90s, but when it was built in 1965, these clients were kids that went there and mostly forgotten by their family because it was not socially acceptable to have a child.
That's sad.
It is sad with a disability. And someone said to me when I worked there, they said, Betsy, you would be surprised who is here. And
wow.
that, their backgrounds. So I just love what you do, Jacqueline. You're just awesome. Where can people find your book? Yeah, you're welcome. Where can people find this book?
It is on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, any online book platform. It should be on there. But the two prominent places are Barnes & Nobles and Amazon.
You know what? I'm always looking in Barnes & Noble to see if there's books of people who I have interviewed. I have to look for your book. I've only seen 2 books out of all the hundreds of people I've interviewed. Just 2. I'm going to look for your book.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And how can people get in touch with you if they live in New York City and want to be involved in the Stephen Spectrum Career Project, or they need your help?
Well, you can go on the StephenProject.com, and Stephen is with a V. You can email me, Jacqueline, JACQUELINE, at thestephenproject.org. We are always looking for new prospects. We are always looking for, people to partner up with, and we, of course, are always looking for donations.
And I know I met you. I know you're on LinkedIn. Is there a social network you would like for people to connect with you?
LinkedIn would be the best one.
Okay, great. Okay. And, folks, I'm telling you, if you live in this area, even if you don't live in this area, look up Jacqueline Diaz and go research the Stephen Spectrum Career Project and also the Strategic Talent Acquisition. These are resources that are wonderful. And what is different, I tell people, Jacqueline, about my show and Passion World Talk Radio Network is that we are a resource center. We provide resources for people who are looking for resources in whatever area. And you are another resource that will be listed in the network.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Through the blog. You're welcome. So when people go on Passion World Talk Radio Network website and they, want to look up, say, autism, your name will pop up.
Thank you. That's amazing.
And, yes, and I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful, folks, for what I do. And it's really it's a blessing for me to talk to people and put out resources to help people, because we all think we're alone, but we're not. We're not alone, folks. You're not alone. Let me tell you, you're not alone. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people looking for resources. Look up PassionWorldTalkRadioNetwork.com, and you might find a resource that you're looking for. So thank you, Jacqueline, for coming on today and sharing about what you do and your book. And I wish you much success.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the work that you do. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you are welcome. It's my pleasure. Folks, all the information about Jacqueline Diaz will be in the blog that Jeannie writes. Jeannie's the station manager and produces the show. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passion World Talk Radio Network, who makes this all possible. And thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. And if you don't already subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, please do so, because I have wonderful guests on, experts in their field. and I am heard on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple, and Amazon Music, just to name a few. And please share the show. Share the show to help other people. That's why I do this show. And I need your help to help as many people as possible. So please share it. If you know someone who lives in New York City and they need help and they're on the autistic spectrum, tell them about Jacqueline Diaz. Share the show. I'm here to help folks. This is my calling. And I don't take it lightly. And I really appreciate everyone who listens. I am really blessed to be a host on Passion World Talk Radio Network. It gives me a purpose and in the stage of my life, and I'm carrying on my husband's legacy. So when you share, you are helping to honor my husband's memory. So thank you very much.
That's amazing to hear.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Jacqueline. And you can follow me on. You're welcome. You can follow me on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, Wurzel. And as I always say at the end of my show, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever before. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate Rural Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Bye-bye now.